Life is not complete, living is not complete without community in the church. And doing that at McFarlin is so rich and so vibrant.
You know when you walk in that God is present.
The first day we stepped foot in this church, I knew immediately this was where we belong. Like the Lord's Spirit was so strong.
It's the place where I meet God every week.
It's family, it's home, it's my sanctuary.
I've been here for all my life, and so it's like a steady root that's always here for me.
This church is just a rock.
It grounds us. It becomes our base camp.
It's my home. It's my spiritual foundation and home.
It strengthens and builds my faith even more than I've had before.
It's just amazing what this church does and how a very large church feels like a very small church.
When I'm at McFarlin on a Sunday, it is, for some reason, it's the place I need to be.
I know I can bring my full self to church every single Sunday.
The way the sermons challenged my faith and encouraged me to think about my faith.
It is so special here at McFarlin to go forward, have an opportunity to kneel at the altar and pray.
I think spiritually significant moments at McFarlin build upon one another.
It has given me a love for reading the scriptures, for growing in the scriptures.
The emphasis that McFarlin has placed through the years on small groups, various Bible studies.
Being here, being in Bible study, just all that together has been extremely important in my journey.
When we started working on this, being involved in this Just Action Committee, the way you look at people is really important, and he puts us together to be with each other and to love each other and to respect each other.
I talked about having covenant groups. I would not be the Christian I am today without them. We were able to explore our spirituality, and that was the beginning of my deep spiritual journey.
One of the studies that I will never forget is studying Isaiah with George Martin leading it. His scholarly attitude towards everything, but just real personal too.
The classes that we took, the discipleship classes, they were multi-generational. We had high school students all the way up to retired, and everyone had really unique input.
I've spiritually benefited from the variety of topics that we cover in our Sunday school class and the way that most people in our class feel the freedom and comfort level to share their perspective and their history with the church and with their faith. It's comforting and reassuring and helps us all grow.
Being here, being part of McFarlin, being part of Close Ties class has made a tremendous difference in my life.
Every Christmas and every Easter, it's like I'm rejuvenated. It's like a booster.
Easter Sunday, how can you top that?
The day of sadness on Good Friday is swept away, and the brightness and purity of the lilies covers the cross that reminds us what sacrifice our Lord made for us.
When we have the Advent Festival every year, that just brings lots of happy and joyful memories to me.
The candlelight service is just my favorite time of the year at McFarlin. It's when everything comes together.
I remember helping with the little choirs, the little cherubs in their little white robes.
Our kids went through all of that, and our son was the one who couldn't stand still in those days.
It helps me feel closest to God, especially whenever we sing Silent Night.
Every year when we raise the candles, that makes me feel close to God.
I have been a part of the music since college in '75, so choir and handbells, children, adults, brings me pure joy.
And I like really going to choir. It's a lot of fun.
Our grandkids
They're third generation choir and handbell ringers. Watching them grow up here, along with our own children, has been pretty amazing.
Being able to see my children and grandchildren become involved at McFarlin and go into leadership here, it's a wonderful, joyful feeling.
We felt really good about the fact that we had a place for our children to grow up, and the symbolicness of having them in front of the congregation and having the congregation say that they were going to support them and pray for them as they grew. It just means a lot to have that community in your life.
Our daughter is now, working this summer in McFarlin and Friends, and she was one of the little toddlers that was taken care of in CDO, and now here she is, as a 16-year-old, giving back to other little kiddos who are coming up behind her.
Confirmation was a really big thing, not just mine, but the last 2 years I got to be a confirmation leader. I got to help people make that big step.
I was confirmed in a United Methodist church, and that grounding has stayed with me and planted a firm foundation for me.
EBS, Sunday school. Mr. Zach's lessons are very good. I enjoy them.
Whenever I was in youth one time, we were talking about the power of forgiveness and just how the power of forgiveness works in the church.
When we went to Camp Egan, it was my first time going to youth, and I met a bunch of my friends there, and it was just a really good bonding experience, and then also getting to meet Austin.
When we started coming to McFarlin, I noticed my children's prayers start to change. They became much longer, much more complex.
One of the biggest joys that I've gotten from Hudson and his experiences here, there was I would say a typical Sunday school. We went and got in the car, we're heading home, and he's just like, "Dad, did you know Jesus is amazing?" That was his thing for that entire week. Every time he said it, it was just the biggest joy on his face, and he's like, "Jesus is amazing," and it's this is home. This is what we want for our family and our kids.
When I think of McFarlin, inside this beautiful building we have, I think of the people and the families who've impacted my life.
I think about all the people that I know and see at McFarlin.
There are people all across the church from every generation, all walks of life.
McFarlin people just show up. That's part of living out the faith is just showing up and being there for those celebration times as well as those hard times in life.
Our family has gone through some really crazy stuff when we lost my husband, and the church were the hands and feet of God during all of that.
We joined McFarlin when we moved here. Within a year or so, we had this close circle of friends that 41 years later, we still have.
Andy and I have been a part of our Sunday school class, The Commitments, coming up on 31 years this October.
The moments are many, but the bond that has been forged through experiencing all those moments together is really what our life has been made of. It's just incredible.
We've been through so much with them. We all know each other's histories. We know each other's families. We're not all the same political side, but it doesn't make any difference.
Watching families grow through the years, and we lost track of how many babies came along, and some of those babies are now graduating from high school.
There's just been a consistent dynamic of loving, caring people that are in it. It's been the most valuable part of my McFarlin experience.
I would like to highlight Circle 5. These 30 women are more like my sisters. When we gather, there's conversation, there's laughter.
When I became ordained, my singles, unbeknownst to me, made this stole for me. And we did not know that deacons wear the stoles this way. And this is my life and the life of singles that I lived with in and out of their lives for 10 years or more.
I just can't imagine going through life without a church family.
I think we're fortunate here to have, by our position within the conference, we get top preachers.
Well, Phil Finn was very formidable in my life, and he was my first pastor.
Phil and Gloria Jean came, and they've always made a big impact on everything that they did in the church.
Linda's certainly been a blessing in our lives.
She brought such love and joy to this church and preached inclusivity and encouraged everyone to minister to other people.
It was an opportunity for me to see a woman as an example leading a large congregation. She really taught me a lot about what it means to love others, not just by talking about it, but by doing it.
Pastor Rockford, I think about how hard that must have been for him coming in. I do just give thanks for him guiding our church through these times.
Pastor Trey's deep heart for the people of the church has been very impactful to me.
To watch Wendy go through what she went through.
Yes.
With the strength, the faith. This staff that we have right now is extremely strong and dedicated to what this building and what this congregation needs.
Daphne Fix is wonderful.
She does such beautiful altar arrangements that are always meaningful to what the topic that's going on with the sermon series.
The music department has been just a blessing as far as raising my children and what I love and teaching them through music. And
Dr. Z has really been a factor, influenced me a lot. He encourages you to think about what you're singing about, what these words mean.
Yeah, Mr. Stephen Wurst, he helped me like whenever I was first starting out with bells, he helped me and coordinate.
Miss Sandy, Mr. Zach, Miss Kaylee. Yes, they made an impact on my life.
I'd say Austin, Scott, and Trey for sure.
I'd also add in Chloe. They're always invested in our lives, outside of church too, and help us grow in our faith.
Scott Meyer is one of the most influential people in my spiritual walk.
What a foundation he has built with our youth, and how many of the youth that have gone into the ministry is a long list.
Good thing he's an eternal child.
There's not just one, there's lots. And that's what it takes to have a lot in different times in your life. Those different people come forward.
Kathy Mash was a person that was so warm, so creative. She was a creative force.
Behind the scenes, never wanting to be in front at all. And she changed this church.
Perry White was a music director here.
Anita McGorman way back when our kids were very young and in the choir and in the bells.
Carol Dean Schreiner has always been a big part of my life. She kind of took me in after my parents passed away.
Bob Warner, I've been involved with United Methodist Men, and I've enjoyed being a part of that group because of him.
Breck Turkington, who's still in the church and was really one of the ones who allowed me to join his softball team.
Bob White, softball coach, step-in father.
There was a whole group of the guys that I played ball with that I got close to. Tom Bishop and Alan Kneehans and Larry Johnson and Dr. Bill Bloom.
I've made friends with parents of my son's friends, the Callahers, the Longs, the Moores.
I think of Marion and Diane Bauman. Diane, who served on the committee to help search and get our beautiful organ, and Marion Bauman was so instrumental establishing our church foundation.
I think about Gloria Jean Finn, who sat beside me often in choir and also dismissed us with some amazing prayers.
I met Bill Chizzo as a part of that Searchers Sunday School class, and one of the sessions that he set up was called Letters from Dad. Those letters are the most meaningful thing for my families at Christmas, which is when I generally give them. That is the most important gift, and if I haven't gotten them to them yet, they want to know where they are. It's just been one of the best things that ever kind of came out of me being at McFarlin.
Victor Long
was an acolyte, and he had some motor issues. He wanted to serve, and he finally got to where he could light the candle, which was a huge accomplishment for him. And then he kept talking to me. He said, I want to snuff the candle. I want to snuff the candle. And so we would practice and practice. And sure enough, he snuffed the candle perfectly. He said, I did it. And you could hear his little voice all through the sanctuary. And it was just, it was very touching.
It's just, it is our family. It is truly our family, and it's what church should be.
There's so many different ways that people in these walls care for each other.
Whether it's through grief support groups, whether it's through divorce care support groups.
McFarlin's most important to me, not only because it gives an opportunity to be of service to others, it also supports me when I have need.
That really is what the church is about, is each of us holding each other up and being there.
Gratefully, I have been able to be a CCM and walk alongside others as they have needs too.
Prayer Shawl Ministry. It has been a very important part of my life ever since we started it. There is nothing like being able to say to someone who needs comfort, how about a shawl?
In 2008, my parents were living still in Shreveport, Louisiana, and were in a really serious, nearly fatal car accident. And I went home to be with them. Our family home doorbell rang, and it was the postal person with a box. And I opened that box, and it was a prayer shawl from McFarlin Prayer Shawl Ministry. To feel the arms of God wrap around me through that prayer shawl, and to know that it had been prayed over was just so impactful and meaningful, and I still have that shawl to this day.
I've discovered that the more you get involved, the smaller the church is, and you work off of other people's faith and spirit, and it makes you stronger.
For me, volunteering in the 4th and 5th grade Sunday school class, it has really spurred in me wanting to volunteer with that age group rather than just, volunteering so that I'm serving somewhere. It's really turned into something that's meant a lot to me here.
McFarlin has provided a way for me to help people, which I really enjoy doing, and through the United Methodist Men and Food Pantry and missions.
Since I retired, with the Methodist Men and all the projects that we do, whether it's building a Habitat for Humanity house or going out and, for a veteran, building him a wheelchair ramp, that whole idea of being in service and loving your neighbor, I think, is what's spiritually most important to me.
That's what I love about McFarlin. We just don't take care of ourselves, we take care of others.
When we see the image of God in people, that's our first step in treating them the way that Jesus would treat them.
We do work on the Tuesdays together, dinners together. Well, I think we judge people the wrong way a lot of times when we see them on the street or in encampments. They've been, probably given a pretty rough card, but people are coming through and you realize they really need a meal. And the people are so appreciative.
The Utility Assistance Program. If you don't have family support that can help you in those times when you're in those financial pinches, it can be overwhelming, and I cannot imagine. And so we're their support, we're their help.
With the food pantry, you just see God's hand on so many things. If you're looking, if you're not looking, you won't see it.
I get the most joy out of conversations with our food pantry clients. They loved to speak about their thankfulness of what we're doing and how our pantry has progressed over the years.
The mobile food pantry. I remember one night when we emptied out the truck, and when you can actually hand out and help that many people, that was a pretty good feeling.
There's a multiplier effect to it. As we lift up one person, often we're actually lifting up other people that are associated with that one person.
This is such a mission-driven church, whether it be local with like our food pantry and internationally, Tanzania, and the mission trips down in Texas where we build houses.
You will never see a more appreciative audience then nursing homes, burn centers, things that we played, sang across the country. People who can't get out can still worship. They still have that in them, and they crave community.
And our youth chapel choir went to Ukraine the summer of 2004. It was absolutely an amazing trip. Dick House got to go with us, and it was truly a life-changing experience.
Just like I hear the youth say today, I know that feeling of being able to help others and realizing that they are helping you too.
Every spring break, we have like the last night when we talk with our groups, they prayed over me, and it was just like really meaningful, and it just made me want to keep coming on spring break because it just had that much of an impact on me.
It changed my life in a really positive way, and I just kept going back.
You learn and gain so much experience and knowledge from that.
Just to see in the state right next to us the need and the gratitude that people had for us helping.
Those families down there that were living in such abject poverty, and to be able to build them a house, and this whole feeling of being the hands and feet of God.
McFarlin's mission statement, changing lives that change the world, is practiced daily in endless ways that touch many, many people's lives.
That's what we're called to do. We're called to love God, we're called to love our neighbor, and we're called to serve. McFarlin has given us the opportunity to do that over and over and over again.
When I think back on, we're celebrating the centennial of this building, but thinking that, that's really not the beginning of McFarlin. It's the beginning of this building, but there was a faith group that was already being the hands and feet of God more than 100 years ago. And it's, just awe-inspiring to think that we're just a small part of that.
Mm-hmm.